Assalamu Alaikum everybody, welcome back to another video. I hope you're having a great day. In today's video we are going through how to purify your stocks. Okay, as a Muslim we know there are a couple of things that we need to do once we basically sell a stock or get a dividends and so on. Some of you have asked me this a long time ago. I kind of forgotten about it, but I apologize. We're doing it today, InshaAllah. To put together a video like this, it takes a lot of time and effort, and obviously, so I would really appreciate if you can just like it. Okay, there's about hundreds of you watching the videos. I don't know if you all subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, I would love you to do that. Oh, I just got paid £6, and that's nice. £6 and 45 pence from Pfizer. There you go. That's a beautiful. All right, these things do happen. Okay, sometimes you just get paid like that. So yeah, it would be really nice if you can just like the videos. Like I said, it takes a lot of time and effort just to put these videos together, especially when you have a full-time job. So I'm just, like I said always, I'm trying to show you what I'm doing and share my journey. And so yeah, I would really appreciate if you can just give it a like. It helps me, it helps a lot of people out there. Hopefully we'll reach more people, and yeah, we can get a massive community that engages in something that is beautiful, and that's basically buying stocks in the Sharia compliant way. Right, let's start first. Okay, now I'm gonna explain like what purification process is and why we need to do that and all that stuff. But before I do that, remember these are based on the research that's out there. It's not my opinion, it's not my judgment, it's not like I'm not a scholar and I'm using the information, the research out there just to do the right things. Okay, and I'll explain to you what I've been doing as well towards the end of the video. Right, so according to Islamically website, if you go to that section to look for purification of Sharia compliant equities, you will find one of the things that you'll find is the dividend. What is dividend purification? Okay, and purification generally. So it says here, companies having less than 5% of their revenue coming from a prohibited business activities are said to have passed a sector-based screens, but the proportion of the dividends attributed to the revenue generated from such non-permissible business activities and interest income will have to be purified. Okay, what that means is if you own a stock that has, for example, less than 5%, because remember that's the screening. When you look at the Sharia compliant screening, they always say it has to be less than 5%. So the revenue, the non-Sharia or haram, whatever you want to call it, okay, revenue cannot be more than 5%. It has to be less than 5%. Okay, and that's one of the rules. Say company A owns, basically has an interest of like 1%, 2%. Okay, or interest income of 1%, 2%. That is obviously non-permissible business activity. So what we then need to do is not business activity, it's interest income, right? And for that reason, what we need to do is then basically pay 2% of that. Okay, so because of that, is actually the company is, let's not talk about what we paid. Let's first talk about the fact that it's compliant. Okay, so if it's less than 5%, we said it's compliant. If that is the case, okay, what do we need to do then if we get paid from that company? And obviously a lot of the scholars have agreed that because that money comes from non-permissible or interest rate, basically income, then we will then have to make sure we pay, basically we purify our dividends. And that's the whole purpose of this video. Okay, so let me quickly show you. There was a question asked in the Islamic Finance Gurus. Those brothers are absolutely amazing. They have their own YouTube. If you don't follow them, go and follow them. They're really nice guys. They obviously a lot more knowledgeable than I am. Alhamdulillah. One day inshallah I'll get there. But they basically, someone asked them a question, and a similar question to a lot of you that have been asking. And this person basically wants to know how to purify stocks, either the dividends or they just generally what is called the income from that. So for example, capital gains, for example, right? So he goes on and says purifying capital gains remains debate issues, and this is what I want to bring to your attention. Okay, it says is a debate. So some scholars have said you don't have to purify if a company has less than say 5% of non basically permissible or interest income, and say for example 2%, and you sell that stock, then you don't have to basically purify. That's basically what some scholars have said, and some scholars have said no, that's absolutely fine. And they've both basically, he describes it and goes ahead and says those who are in favor of capital gains purification argue that it's safe to utilize or benefit from import income that might be reflected in the capital gains. This is because fundamentally the market price capitalizes the company's total earnings, including those from Sharia non-permissible earnings. However, the critics of capital gains purification argue that earnings from interest-based activities tend to be insignificant, and therefore their impact on the capital gains is basically negligible. Now, to me, I'll be honest with you, right? I've had Apple in my portfolio and I sold it, and I took some of that profit and I gave it away. Now, there was no formula. I didn't use any formula, okay? Because according to this rule, basically the debate, whatever, it's actually fine. But I then decided I want to give away some of that money to Sadaqah. Okay, I've purified the dividends, and I'll explain that how I do that. But the capital gains, because there was no such a formula, whatever, when I sold Apple, which was the only stock that I owned at the time, okay, that I've sold, that obviously made capital gains, I've actually given away some of that capital gains or the profits to charity, to basically someone, okay, someone that is basically in need of that money. So again, it's a nice thing to do to give charity anyway. So if you had Microsoft, for example, for 10 years and you made, I don't know, £1,000, to give away £100 of that money, it's not going to kill you. Okay, so, and it's a nice thing to do. It's a sadaqah, right, at the end of the day. And because there's a debate, whatever, I like to be on the safe side and just give some of that money to charity. If I made no money, then that's a difference. Okay, if you haven't made any money, then that's fine. But if you made some money, and that's one of the reasons why people argue it and say you don't have to basically purify the capital gains, because what if you don't gain anything? What if you basically in a loss? Then obviously you have nothing to pay. So the argument, yes, is out there, and some people say yes and some people no. I just like to be on the safe side, and I will pay some of that money towards charity just to be on the safe side. Allah knows best. I to be honest with you, is one of those things you just have to do what you think is right instead of just following a specific madhab or rule or whatever. The next is also looking at this website here, okay. It talks about capital gains and it says no need to purify, okay, according to Islamically. It says this happens once basically the shares are bought at a price and sold later at a higher price. The positive difference is the capital gains, obviously. As per Sharia ruling by Sharia scholars, any capital gains or trading gains from Sharia compliant equities need not be purified. Okay, but they said you need to purify your dividends. Okay, and that's the bit that we need to talk about. So this one, like I said, you know where I stand. Just I will pay a little bit, whatever I can, however small that basically profit is, just share it. Okay, it's not going to kill you. Now I went to I was looking for a little bit more information, and I end up going to the S&P website, and I found this website here. Okay, the S&P Global. That has the S&P 500, whatever. So it's got S&P faq-shariah-indices-methodology, and I found this. Okay, this basically long article, which is quite nice. In fact, I'll share this with you guys so you can have a look at it. And they have a section on basically how to purify the dividends. Okay, and I think some of they reference the AAOIFI, whatever it's called. Okay, they reference some of that. But the one that we need to focus on right now is this one here. How is the dividends purification ratio calculated? What goes into the basic component of dividends to be purified? And that's the bit that we're going to talk about. So it says here the dividends purification ratio is calculated as, okay, so dividend purification ratio is equal to non-permissible revenue divided by the total revenue. Now, This means, so you look at the company's revenue, you find out how much of their revenue is actually non-permissible, okay, and then divide that by the total revenue. You get then obviously whatever it is that you need to pay. So for example, if a company owns 1%, basically gets 1% income, okay, I'm talking about interest income, okay, then you need to pay that much, or in dividends. So when you get your dividends, you then have to pay that. So what am I talking about? Let me show you what it looks like. So I own Microsoft, and this is a screenshot from Zoya. I have subscription to Zoya, so I can see these things, right? So as soon as I type this comes up and it says 1.25% is non-compliant. Right now, that still doesn't mean that I need to see the breakdown of the segments in order to be able to just basically see what's going on, okay? And then if I click that, this comes up. It says 1.25 of revenue is non-compliant, and then it says the interest to income 1.25. So that's the bit that's not non-compliant at the moment. So let's have a look what that looks like in actual money. So okay, so it's $2.13 billion comes from interest to income. This could be the fact that they've given out some of their cash to the bank and they basically earn interest. That's all it is. Okay, so they get interest about $2.13 billion from basically earning interest from, could be a bank, could be something else they've given out. Either way, they've now receiving this much from a basically non-compliant revenue section. So what I tend to do is I'm looking at this, okay, and now it's 1.25. So all I need to do is use this, look at the dividends that I have, because this is the percentage, because it's already done for me. I don't actually have to do the calculations. I'll show you the calculations again, but this is all I need to do. So every time I get dividends from Microsoft, I'm paying 1.25%, because that's the bit that comes from, okay, not that, basically that from their total of their revenue. Because if you divide their total revenue, okay, they have by whatever, basically by 2.13 divided by total revenue is what you end up is 1.25%. And that's all I need to do. So once you've got that, then that's the percentage that you need to pay. So they've explained in here, and I'll share this file with you guys later. So you can come from all of these things, that non-permissible section. It says dividend purification ratio determines what portion of the dividends received must be purified. And like I've shown you already, for example, Microsoft is 1.25. So all you're doing is the non-permissible revenue divided by total revenue. Okay, change that to percentage and find out basically what you need to pay. So imagine if that was 10%, you pay 10%, says here, implies that 10% of the dividends need to be given to charity, while DB's ratio requires all the dividends basically to be paid. So obviously you wouldn't own a company that has 100% non-compliant. So what's the point of that? Okay, I hope that kind of makes sense. Okay, so all you need to remember is this formula here. Find out what percentage of the total revenue, non-permissible revenue, okay, basically that is in the that are non-permissible. So what out of the total revenue, how much of that is non-permissible revenue, and divide the non-permissible revenue divided by the total revenue. That will give you the, and obviously change that to percentage and find out what that is, and then pay that as that much. So in my situation, I'll be paying 1.25 of my dividends that comes from Microsoft to charity. Okay, I might pay a little bit more than that, but that's the minimum I will pay. I hope that kind of makes sense. Okay, right, so you might be wondering then, how do I find out? If you don't have Zoya like I do, right, and you want to do this calculation by yourself, there's loads of different websites. This is the Wall Street Journal. So I've typed Microsoft, for example. I'm looking at their financials. I've scrolled down all the way here, and where it says non-operating interest income, and that is where the 2.13 that we saw early comes from. Okay, all I have to do is take this, find out their total revenue, right? Their total revenue on the top here, 2021. okay, and then boom, that's all you have to do. And as you can see here, I've just done the calculations, okay. So what I've done is the 2.131, okay, divided by this number here, 168.088, okay, as you can see there, times by 100 gives me 1.26. So it works out basically, because remember, I think a Zoya might not have updated recently, but either way, it's 1.26, 1.25. There's not much of a difference. That's all you have to do. Okay, so just remember the formula, and then whenever you get your dividends, go to the latest. Remember, you're looking for the yearly. Okay, so as soon as the year finishes, okay, and you're getting your dividends, whatever, just use this total revenue or sales revenue, whatever, for 2021. So find out what the interest, or if they have an interest, whatever, find out how much that is, divided by the sales revenue times by 100. That gives you the percentage, and that's the percentage that you need to give away based from your dividends that you've received. Right. Again, I will share these websites. The same thing again here. Dividend purification equals total non-permissible revenue divided by revenue, and that's it. And then Zoya goes on and says, while calculating the dividend purification ratio, the below items are considered, and that includes the interest income received from deposit of cash and banks and so on. So there's a lot more information in there. Things like including selling anything like pork or gambling or pornography, sales and tobaccos, whatever it is. As long as all of this rubbish comes basically is less than 5%, okay, and then you receive a dividend from that stock, then you can easily purify by doing this calculation and giving it away to charity. I hope that makes sense, okay? It's a little bit all over the place at the moment because I just wanted to have all the information in one place, but obviously it's quite difficult to do that. But I want to show you where that information is coming from, and I'm not making things up. The final thing I want to show you is Islamically has a section called What is Sharia Screening, and you've got quite a lot of information in there. I will also include that in the description below, so you can have a look at that in your own time. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. Remember, I'm not making these things up. These are basically information that was made available to us by the scholars and the people that have a lot more knowledge than I do. I'm just following their footsteps and just trying to make sure that I'm following those. And again, if you want to know more about the Islamic finance, okay, go to this website, okay? The Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Finance Institution is actually quite useful. They have a lot of information in there. They have the names of the scholars, where they're from, what they've done, their background, and all that stuff is in there, so you can have a look at that. I will share this PDF with you guys as well. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Take care. Assalamu Alaikum.